how can we make sure that we do not become too dependent on external sources of approval? I have worked on this topic through Neurographica, and if you want to know what insights I have obtained, come with me. Welcome back to the 4Body Journey channel, and welcome to episode 9 of my series Diary of a Journeyman, where I show you practically what kind of results and benefits you can obtain through Neurographica. This is the drawing that I have made this week, and the topic is a bit special because I wasn't intending on working on this topic specifically, because I thought last week when I talked about the fear of failure that I basically exhausted the topic. I reached a set of very definitive conclusions, and I didn't think I had anything more to add about it. I just had to work on, on the practical steps that I decided to implement and work on that and start, pushing it forward. But so, for this week, I had already planned on working on something else. However, what happened? Basically, before I started to draw, I was having dinner. And while I was having dinner, I was watching a video on YouTube. And I landed on a video that was documenting the rise and fall of Conor McGregor. So for those of you who don't know who he is, let me just briefly describe you the kind of person. Okay, so Conor McGregor is a mixed martial artist who, after many years of training hard and fighting on the lower level circuit, lower tier circuits, he got hired by the UFC, the main company worldwide for mixed martial arts. And there he had a meteoric rise. Basically, he was very good in the cage, very good at fighting, but he also was very good with trash talking and marketing himself and selling fights. Therefore, by virtue of that, together with his prowess in fighting, he achieved an incredible peak. He became champion in 2 different weight classes, and he made a huge amount of money with his fights. However, after he reached this incredible peak, then he started to struggle because, after that, at the beginning of his journey, he was very serious. He was solely focused on fighting. He was very loyal to his girlfriend, and he seemed like someone who was, focused on becoming the best, who was very good trash talker, so maybe someone didn't like that, but he seemed like a normal person. However, after all of this happened, and when he started to, right after he achieved that incredible peak, basically he started to struggle. He seemed like he did not have any motivation whatsoever, and so he started partying. He started going out with many different women. He started being embroiled in a bunch of, very serious controversies, very serious accusations, and very serious allegations. I'm not going to discuss these in, this is not the right place to discuss these. So, I'm just going to tell that they happen. You can research them yourself. And he also started to become dependent on many different substances, from alcohol to, other substances that are definitely not recommended, that I do not recommend whatsoever. And I was listening to the video, and I was watching, reading the comments underneath. And there was one comment that really struck me, because what was in this comment? Basically, this person said that what Conor McGregor was experiencing was something that was very common to many other athletes. So basically, all of these people have incredibly grandiose and incredibly ambitious goals to really reach the pinnacle of their sport or of their activity, whatever it is. And then once they reach that, then they struggle because they don't have another goal anymore. They don't have another goal that for them is just as ambitious and as important, and as, serious to achieve. And so what happens? They have a void. They cannot fill that void, through their own actions, and therefore they can only resort to vices, abuses, and all of these other things, which are definitely not positive for someone. And in a way, this comment also resonated with me because, without all of the, bad behaviors, but I found myself in a similar situation. And I started to think, and I realized, could it be that is the same thing that I experienced after the Chemistry Olympiads? So after I got, I had these incredible goals of, winning a medal at the Chemistry Olympiads, which was something that was very difficult to achieve. And not only I achieved that goal, but I smashed it. I wanted to win a medal. I won two. So I went even beyond my most positive, expectations. I achieved more than I ever thought I would. And so once I achieved that goal, could it be that I went to the same thing? Basically, I achieved a goal that was so incredible, that was filling my days. And then I did not have another goal that was just as grandiose as that, just as important, as ambitious, and as demanding as that. And so I found myself struggling. And so this explanation makes perfect sense. And it might also explain why I kept jumping from one activity to another, because basically I was trying to find another activity where I could try to achieve the same thing that I achieved with the Olympiads. And so at the end of the day, my question was, does it make sense? Is the reason why I struggle so much to find activities that I enjoy, and I find so many that I enjoy, but then I stop after a very short time, could it be related to the fact that, I don't have another grandiose objective anymore? And this in a way is also related to the fear of failure. But while the fear of failure is not related so much to this choice of activities, but more so to the execution, this is more so related with the choice of activity. So in this episode, I thought it was very important for me to try and figure out exactly if this phenomenon, this idea that I basically found myself a void that I needed to fill after I achieved such an incredible goal, I needed to figure out if there was some truth to it, and if so, what I can do to fix that. Now, the first thought that came into my mind as soon as I started drawing was a memory of something that I said last week. So when I was talking about the fear of failure, at a certain point, I asked myself this question. Could it be that the reason why I'm looking to, start and try to succeed in so many different activities is related to me trying to win over the appreciation and the approval from other people around me? And if you remember last week, I thought about it, and I concluded that it wasn't really the case for a simple reason, because I remember that whenever I am attracted by an activity and I want to start an activity, the first thing that I notice is always the kind of, what can I learn from it? The kind of educational value that this activity can have for me. And so I dismissed that thought because I reached the conclusion that there was a different reason why I was starting these activities. But now, since this thought came up again, I started thinking more deeply about it. And what I realized was that last week I was correct in my analysis, but I had missed one factor. I had forgot to consider one factor, which is the fact that yes, as soon as I find an activity, the first thing that I notice is actually the kind of educational value it can have on me. What can I learn from it? What skills can I acquire through it? So that is absolutely true. But then afterwards, after this initial phase, then the desire to win over other people's attention and appreciation kicks in. And as I remember this, I started remembering, started recollecting events from my past. And I started remembering how I was at school. So when at school, I was the quiet kid. I was the kid who was, just go to school, study, do all of the extracurricular activities, out of school activities. And I never created problems. I always, behaved. I always did my best at school, at the exams, at everything. But I wasn't the guy who was, the heart of the social circles in the school or in the class. I wasn't the guy who was talking with everyone. I wasn't the guy who was recognized by everyone. I was just a guy that was not particularly recognized. I would go around the school and not many people would notice me, right? However, without me changing anything in my behavior, I remained exactly the same. But as soon as I achieved some results, immediately I started to become recognized. Immediately many more people started to know who I was. I walked in the corridors and many people would recognize me. Many more people would stop me and talk to me in the school. So what I realized was that basically my status within the school, whether I had a marginal role in this ecosystem, right, in this micro society, whether I had a marginal role or a significant role, basically depended on whether I was achieving results or not. If I did not achieve any results, not many people would care about me. If I achieved those results, many more people were, interested by me. And so that is an interesting observation, because that is definitely something that can create a precedent here. Now, it is important to note that, for example, when I decided I wanted to go to the Chemistry Olympiads and win a medal there, I decided I wanted to do it for me, not for other people. I did not want to win all other people's affection by winning a medal. I realized that I wanted to go to the Olympiads because I wanted to do it. And so I set out to study because I wanted to do it. However, afterwards, after a while, especially as I got, as I won the first medal and so on, other people's, attention and appreciation became much more important. So it definitely became an important factor afterwards, and it's still a factor that is affecting me to this day, even in other activities. So, of course, that is something that is not positive. That is not a positive habit to have, being so reliant on other people's approval and appreciation. So this is definitely something I want to work on in order to fix it and change it for the better. Now, going back even further to my past and thinking about when I was, in elementary school, really when I was really a little kid, just a little kid, very, very young, what I realized is that this theme was carried over from then until now. So basically, I've always been the quiet kid who just, go to school and do his best and study and do all of his homework. But I've always been, sort of marginal in the social circles of the class or of the school. And I've never had more than like one close friend at a time. Never had more than one. So, I was always very lonely. However, that would change every single time I would achieve some results. As soon as I would achieve those results, then all of a sudden my status would increase. I would start to become someone who would attract a lot more attention. So this was not just limited to my period when I was preparing for the Olympiads and when I participated in the Olympiads. This is something that was carried over from, much longer before. So this is definitely a phenomenon that has very deep roots into my life and into my experiences. And from this point of view, you might almost think like I'm almost playing the victim here, because I'm relaying to you all of these examples from my past, and I'm saying, they didn't care about me, and now they care about me when I obtain these results. And this is not my goal, okay? My goal is not to play victim here. My goal is not to be a victim. My goal is to try and figure out exactly what the issue is, where it comes from, and what I can do to fix it. I'm just simply recollecting these memories to try and contextualize everything, put everything in the right context, and try to figure out exactly where it comes from, when it started, and what I can do to fix it. From that point of view, this has always been my attitude, and this is my attitude for this topic as well. But from all of the memories that I have recollected so far, I think it's starting to become pretty clear that this behavior that I've just explained to you might be a factor in this problem, might be an important factor to explain why this is happening to me. And I mean, this is very easy to understand, right? If you have a dog and you never pay attention to the dog, and you only cheer him and, pat him on the back when he brings you your newspaper, he's going to start bringing your newspaper 100 times a day, right? And similarly, if the only time I am considered by other people is when I'm achieving all of these results, well, I'm going to try to focus on achieving these results as much as possible, just so that I can receive all of that attention. So from that point of view, I think it is perfectly normal and it makes perfect sense. However, it is still an issue, because it is not something that I would like to receive. It's not something that, I don't really care about, but it's good, to have attention from other people. It's something that I need. And then when you have a need, when you need something, it's never the same thing. So from that point of view, I definitely need to intervene on that. And the way I would like to intervene on that is twofold. I want to work on two different directions. So the first direction is I want to learn and figure out and train myself in order to detach myself from other people's approval, from external approval. I want to make sure that I start doing things because I want to do them and not because I want to appeal to other people. So that is one way I want to work on this. And the second way I want to work on this, which is just as important, is to try and figure out exactly, out of all the people I have around me and of all the people that might come, around me in the future, I need to figure out exactly what these people are about and making sure I only surround myself with those people who care about me and not that care about the results that I obtain. I don't want to have around me those people who just, are just hang around when I'm doing well, and then as soon as the results start to dry up, they just go away. I don't want these kind of people. From that point of view, for example, my mother and my little brother, they are people who love me and care about me because of me, not because of the results they obtain. They stuck with me when I was doing well and when I wasn't doing as well, when I was obtaining results and when I wasn't obtaining results. So, these are the kind of people that I want to have around in my life. And the more I have, the better. These are the high quality kind of people that I want to have with me. On the other hand, there are other people that have been in my life. For example, my father, that I do not want. Why do I say that? Well, basically, he never really cared about me outside of when I obtained results. When I wasn't obtaining results, I was my mother's son. When I was obtaining results, I was his son as well. So, I was his son only when I was obtaining results. That is definitely not the kind of person I want to have around me. So, I have to make sure I become very good at understanding people and, and reading people so that I can cut off all of those who are only around, glory seekers, who are only around when I'm obtaining good results. And I want to surround myself with people who care about me, regardless of whether I obtain good results or not. Do hang around me and love me and care about me just because I am me. Now, from this analysis, I think there is one thing that is perfectly clear, okay? Which is the fact that this is a purely internal problem. So I have an issue that I have to go, to go deep within myself to solve. And of course, the external behavior, the external difference in treatment according to whether I achieve those results or not is there. It's undeniable, okay? It's not like we can say, oh, no, it wasn't there. It was just a figment of your imagination. No, it was there. But at the same time, had I not had this issue, it would not have affected me so deeply. So the issue I have to go and solve is, inside. It's not just a matter of me surrounding myself with the wrong people. It's also a fact of me having to go inside and figure out exactly what the issue is. And so I started asking myself, what is the source of this reliance on external appreciation and approval? And what I realized was that ultimately, the reason why I look so much for external approval is due to the fact that I have never given myself that approval. Okay, so whenever I do something and I achieve certain results, I never give myself a pat on the back. I never tell myself, you know what, you did a good job. You put in the work, you achieved the results, good job, very good. I never said that, I never say that to myself. And every single time I do something, I achieve a result, then within 5 seconds, it's as if I had never achieved it. And at times, something relatively funny that happens is that when people mention the achievements that I obtain, I feel almost, frustrated with it. I feel a bit bad about it, as if, come on, don't say that. I haven't done anything special. Don't come in and start saying those things. I never did anything specific, and anything noteworthy. So if I never give myself that approval, if I never give myself, appreciation for what I do without being too arrogant, but without being, having that false modesty, which I don't really like, being realistic, being objective about what I've done, the effort that I put in, and whether I have achieved what I should have achieved given the effort that I put in. And if I don't give myself that approval, though, I'm going to need it to come from the outside. And so it's going to become a need, a craving, something that is definitely not positive. So the fact that it doesn't come from the inside is actually a hindrance. It's actually something that is causing me significant damage. And so whenever I start a new project, a new activity, I set out for a new goal, basically I become hyper fixated on trying to win other people's appreciation. And I do not consider any other way of viewing that activity, right? I become fixated too much on the goal, too much on the end point, and not of the journey to get there. And so whenever I get to a point where I don't get some positive results right away, and the appreciation from the outside starts, stopping, it's not there anymore, well, then what happens is that, I start thinking to myself, what, maybe it's not worth it, blah, blah, blah. The fear of failure, as we discussed last week, kicks in, and then I just basically end up abandoning that activity because I do not allow myself the time to build up the skill in order to achieve the level that I need in order to achieve my goals. And so, you have this craving to seek other people's approval, coupled with the fear of failure that actually ultimately leads to me just abandoning all of these activities one after the other. So from everything I've told you, it is now very clear what the problem is. The problem is that I see every single activity just as the result. I identify the activities, any activity that I start, with the result, because that is the point in which I will receive other people's attention and validation. And I do not see anything else. I do not see the approval, the attention that I can give myself. I do not see the pleasure that I receive from just doing this activity. It's an activity that I enjoy, and I should, enjoy doing it day after day after day. All the time I spend there should be nice. It should be something that I enjoy, and yet I don't take that into consideration whenever I am performing an activity, and clearly that is something that is hindering me. So I need to be able to get past that and start implementing all of those additional ways of viewing an activity in my mind. And this reductive way of looking at any activity, just identifying it with the result and nothing else, is also something that is blocking me. That is the roadblock that I need to power through. It's like a wall. I need to break through that wall in order to be able to achieve my goal, and to start, looking at hobbies and pastimes and activities and journeys and projects and works, everything in a different light in order to be able to achieve what I want. So I need to start looking at it more broadly than just the result. And clearly this first part where I have to break this metaphorical wall is going to be the hardest one, because this way of looking at any activity that I do is something that is very deeply rooted within myself, right? As I told you before, it's something that I've started doing when I was very, very young. So it's something that has been there for decades now. So it's going to be very tough to break, but it's necessary that I break it. And once I break it, the results will be very positive. So I can do it. I am confident that I can do it. I don't see any issues why I shouldn't do it, but it's going to take a lot of effort to overcome this. Because, as I said, it's something that is deeply rooted within me. And how am I supposed to do it? Because, what is the strategy? Because it's not something that looks trivial to do, right? And what I realize is that the best strategy for me is this. In order to do it, I need to start choosing something that I do and doing it privately, personally, okay? I have to stop, advertising everything for other people. I have to stop showcasing whatever I do to other people. Back in the day when I was at school, it was a bit more difficult. Now it is easier for me. So I need to take something and do it more personally, without asking other people, without showing it to other people, without talking about it with other people. It's just something that I do by myself, and sort of something that it's like I'm in this little bubble where I'm doing this activity without anyone else knowing. And I think that could be a good strategy for me to overcome this issue. Now that our conversation is over, as usual, what are 3 conclusions that I can draw from what I have just discussed with you? The first conclusion is that so far throughout my life, External approval, external attention has always been something that has been very important for me, but it is now time for me to move on and start looking at every situation differently and start acting out differently. The second conclusion is that I need to start giving myself this attention and this appreciation. I need to start giving myself credit for what I do and what I achieve, without being too kind or without being too critical, without being too modest or without being too arrogant. I need to be objective in my evaluation of myself, but I need to start appreciating myself for what I do. And the third conclusion is that I need to start doing the activities that I do in a more quote-unquote private manner, without trying to constantly make other people aware of what I do or trying to involve them with what I do. I need to start doing things just because I want to do them and do them by myself. And from a practical standpoint, what am I going to do? Well, for this video, this is what I've chosen. I'm going to take one activity. I haven't decided which one yet. I'm going to decide which one in the coming few days. I still haven't figured out what the best activity for this task is. And I'm going to carry it out privately. I'm not going to mention it to anyone. I'm not going to talk about it with anyone. I'm not going to ask about it to anyone. I'm going to carry it out and people are not even going to know that I'm carrying it out. This way, I'm not going to, I'm going to force myself, I'm going to shield myself from external validation. I'm going to force myself not to receive any external attention. And so the only attention, appreciation, and validation that I can receive will come from myself. So effectively, I'm training myself to give, that validation to myself. That is something that I want to work on for this task. And this was my solution to this problem. If you have the same problem, so if you are struggling too with relying too much on external validation, what can you do to solve that? Or if you have a different problem, how can you figure out what the best solution for yourself is? That is where Neurographica comes in. Neurographica is a very powerful technique that can help you in a wide range of problems. If you have past events that are negatively affecting you in the present, you can get help from Neurographica. If you're trying to plan certain areas of your future in the most effective and personal way, you can get some help from Neurographica. Or you can also get help from Neurographica if you find yourself in a moment of heavy emotional turmoil and you want to be able to dissipate this negative, strong emotion in order to reacquire a certain, balance so that you can start working more effectively on your problem. That you can get some help with it too. So from that point of view, I think Neurographica is a very useful technique. It is also a very versatile technique because you can work on basically any topic you want. You can pick. You can work on it whenever you want. As long as you have some time where you can stay focused on what you are doing, you can draw Neurographica. And you will receive the most effective solution for you. Also, there is another advantage. You don't need to have a degree in art. You don't need to have done whatever courses in artistic drawing in order to be able to draw Neurographica. If you can hold a marker, a highlighter, or a pencil, and you can observe yourself while you are drawing all around at all different levels, you can draw Neurographica. I am a Neurographica instructor, specialist and supervisor, and I organize courses where I give you all of the tools that you need in order to be able to start drawing Neurographica, applying it to your life, and start changing your life for the better. If this is your first introduction to the world of Neurographica, you can join my basic user course where I'm gonna teach you the fundamental principles of this technique, the rules, and some algorithms, including this one, that you can start drawing right away and that you can start applying right away to your life to solve a wide range of issues. From that point of view, I think this course is very important. It is a fundamental course and it can be your first step into starting to, improve your life. One drawing at a time, one step at a time, one topic at a time, but starting to improve your life and changing your life for the better. As you can see in this episode, I am working on it. I'm trying to change my life for the better. You can do the same. If you have any questions, if you have any, want to have any more information on my courses, you can contact me through my social media profiles or through my email address. Everything is down in the description below. With this being said, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any comments, if you have any questions, or if you want to let me know your impressions on this discussion that we have just had, please leave a comment. I'll be happy to read it. And with this being said, thank you very much for coming, for staying with me until now. See you next video. Ad maiora.
Oh, you're still here. I'm very happy to see that. If you want, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, or you can open this playlist that contain all of the episodes of this series, or you can watch this video. I'm sure you're gonna like that. The choice is yours. Have fun, and I'll see you in the next video.